uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son, actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back sports, talking way too much, world come back sports.
What's good, everyone? WCS back on the boulevard once again. Shout out to Samar Warren, first in the building. Salute to you. I'm gonna come in temporarily. I mean, not gonna be too long. Got stuff to do. You feel me? Well, I got a couple of topics I want to speak about, man. Errol Spence Jr. and Jamel Charlo. First, we're gonna leave Errol Spence for last because it's some good news. I'm saying some good news for him, and we're gonna tie it all in to what's been leading up to this point and what's been happening to other fighters over there that may have been trying to, send you that red flag and people weren't paying attention. But Jamel Charlo, right? Jamel Charlo, of course, there's been a lot of talk. It's not what I'm talking about yesterday as far as, all his whining and complaining, anything like that. But more so, Jamel Charlo is a fighter, right? So Jamel Charlo, if you remember, he is the super welterweight undisputed world champion. This guy's 35-1-1. His only loss came to Tony Harrison. You know what I'm saying? When he fought him back in December 22, 2018. Okay. So his last fight was Brian Castano in the rematch. That was, if I'm not mistaken, that was May 14th, 2022. So, he hasn't stepped in the ring since then. And of course, it's been over a year. But the crazy part about it, he's an undisputed world champion. No doubt about it, right? Then you say to yourself, well, received a doctor's note, and supposedly it was all healed up. And then he had this whole entire surgery, all these other ailments that was put on the list that he needed to take care of. In the meanwhile, a shakeup happened. Okay. Sebastian Fundora, the Tower Inferno, was making his way out. Now, this division right here has all the potential in the world, man. You know what I'm saying? They had guys putting themselves in position like Sebastian Fundora. I remember way, way back. I told you all a couple of fights after when he fought Danny Lewis, I believe. I said, when Sebastian Fundora loses, it's going to be via knockout. And, he had a shining moment with Erickson Lubin, but Erickson Lubin pretty much did expose Sebastian Fundora. He just didn't have enough to close it out, right? So, and Sebastian Fundora starts to feel himself a little bit. He should. He was in there getting it in. He beat Eric Lubin. He was pretty much saying, "Hey, I want to put myself in a position to fight for a championship." Yeah, they was moving him heavy over there at the WBC. They was moving him heavy. So Sebastian Fundora is one of the unique fighters in the sport. This dude is 6'5.5", 80-inch reach. And like I said before, when he had his 9th round stoppage at Erickson Lubin, then he fought Carlos Ocampo. Yeah, the same one who fought Errol Spence at welterweight. All right. Carlos Ocampo went the distance with Sebastian Fundora. And look, even I said, well, that's a little weird. Carlos Ocampo going the distance with Sebastian Fundora, but we don't know what was extracted from him when he fought Erickson Lubin, because that was a tough fight from the hammer. when he was in there with the hammer. So then he stepped in there. This is the guy who did everything he was supposed to do. He even called out and said he'll fight Errol Spence at 147. He steps in with Brian Mendoza. Brian Mendoza came in there and stopped Sebastian Fundora in the 7th round. Brutal combination knockout, right? So we're saying to ourselves, well, it's going to come upon Sebastian Fundora get the tie with Charlo. No, not the case. So on the other rim, we get Tszyu. You know what I'm saying? We get Tszyu, Terrell Goucher, and then we get Tszyu finally in there with Tony Harrison. All alone, we just waiting on to see what Charlo got going on. He goes in there, he smashes Tony Harrison, right? So we're saying, oh man, Charlo and Tszyu is looking way more exciting now. Way more exciting, right? Well, guess what? It's not the case because the fight was been delayed, and now Tszyu is set to fight the guy who went the distance in a losing effort to Sebastian Fundora. You know what I'm saying? Now we have Tszyu Carlos Ocampo. Tszyu Carlos Ocampo. Even though Ocampo has two losses, y'all. And you say to yourself, damn, he's been doing pretty good. Well, if you factor in, once he took that L to Errol Spence, in Texas, once he took that L to Errol Spence back in 2018, dude went to Mexico, bro. Carlos Ocampo went to Mexico. He went to Mexico and stayed over there. He went over there for like 10, 12 fights. He first round and went over to Mexico and packed in and inflated his record like 12 fights over in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Let's take a gander. So when he went in a 12-round fight, right? This is why I was talking about the format of boxing. He went into a 12-round fight with Errol Spence and was stopped in the first round. Then he moved up to super welterweight. He fought an 8-rounder. Now, this is a person who was fighting 10 rounders, won 8 rounders, and then all 10 rounders up to fighting Errol Spence for a 12-rounder. Then he fought a 4-rounder. Okay. A 4-rounder. Dude, 3-1, right? Let's keep it going. He moves on to fight Jesus Perez and fight a 10-rounder. And then he fights another 10-rounder. He stops his opponent in 4, and then he stops his next opponent in 5. Then he fights an 8-rounder. Stop his opponent in 4. Then he goes on. Let me see. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 fights in 2019. He goes on and fight an 8-rounder. You know what I'm saying? 11-4 guy. Stops him in the 4th. Then he goes to a 10-rounder. Jorge Perez, a 10-rounder, right? Another 10-rounder. Abraham Ramirez, and then Ivan Matute, right? Stopped him in the 2nd round. After he lost to Errol Spence, he goes the distance in the 10 round, and then he fights Omir Rodriguez. Stopped him in 1 round. And then he has a fight in Canada to slowly make his way back over to the U.S. The only reason I'm bringing that up is this guy was a guy who stepped in there to fight Errol Spence as a mandatory. Carlos Ocampo, bro. He went and fought Errol Spence as a mandatory. You know what I'm saying? Nobody talks. This is the fight that Errol Spence had before he fight who? Before he fought who again? Mikey Garcia. So peep this out. When Carlos Ocampo fought Errol Spence, when Errol Spence fought Carlos Ocampo was 22-0. 22-0, bro. Can you believe that? Carlos Ocampo was 22-0. That was a fight Errol Spence had for the IBF world title. Before you know what I'm saying, is that Carlos Ocampo can fight Errol Spence and supposed to be a validated opponent, but went over to Mexico after that fight for like 12 or 13 fights, bro. 12 or 13 fights, man. All in Mexico. That's something you should realize and understand about how boxing works. And I still don't get how people get so in their feelings about boxing and what you say about boxing when boxing allows certain things that are just always up for discussion, always up for discussion. So now Tszyu is fighting Carlos Ocampo. Tszyu is set to fight Carlos Ocampo. And you're saying to yourself, why does that make sense? Well, hey, somebody's being protected. The same one that's been talking all this about light boys and all that, dude. The guy you're supposed to fight, Tszyu, is now about to fight another guy. He fought Tony Harrison because he was injured. Now he's about to fight Carlos Ocampo. What's next? I'm just disappointed. I think Tszyu deserved a shot, and I'm just disappointed. I'm just disappointed because Charlo hasn't defended his straps, his undisputed titles. He haven't defended them, bro. When is it going to happen? They're going to protect this guy. You know what I'm saying? How long is he going to be protected? That's all I want to know. Me and a whole lot of other people. How long is he going to be protected? How long are we going to see Charlo out the ring not defending his titles? And just think about this. If he's able to put this on ice, imagine what it's going to do when Terrence Crawford goes on the hunt as a 2-time undisputed champion and try to call him out. Imagine that. Imagine how that's going to turn out. I don't think it's going to turn out good. Seriously, I don't think it's going to turn out too good because this guy is proving to the people that he's on his own clock. He's been out the ring over a year, and the guy that he's supposed to fight is on his second opponent due to Jermell Charlo's hiatus. And his hiatus. But yet, we don't hear anything about them stripping them of the belts or anything. That's just what they do over there. They on the protection committee. Real talk. They on the protection committee, bro. Good for them. Salute to them. But I'm disappointed. Let me get to the chat. Big Blunts and Boxing on deck. What's good? I be who I be. Salute to you. Juice Lee on deck. New management. I hope Alphabet Boys give it the same scrutiny as BOK Prime. That's next. That's my next topic. True Media Today, USA Boxing Coach Malachi in the building. Salute to you, Coach. Andrew Charles on deck. Pablo on deck. I see you. James on deck. So, that's where I'm at with Charlo. I'm trying to find out when he's going to step up and come back as an active fighter. Because look, how can we have Jermell Charlo inactive, Jermell Charlo inactive? You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence inactive. All at the same time. I'm talking about before this fight was even signed. Before this fight was even signed. Before this fight was even announced. All three of them fighters was inactive. How's that possible? But anyway, you already know where I'm at with it. Jermell Charlo need to defend those belts, man. He need to defend those belts. And if by chance, he's going to, there's something brewing or whatever, I don't know. But like I said, Tszyu is supposed to fight Carlos Ocampo, and let's see how it turns out. All right. Shout out to Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence inks managerial pact with Fighters First Management. All right. They say Errol Spence has brought aboard an old friend as his new manager as a pivotal point in his career. All right. And this is via boxingscene.com. And they talk about him scheduled to fight Terrence Crawford on July 29th, which everybody knows up to this point. But Spence, 28 victories in, 0 defeats, 22 knockouts. Spence is advised by PBC founder Al Heyman, but has remained a managerial and promotional free agent throughout his 11-year pro career. It says much of that time was spent working with bouncing ideas off Clark and so forth. And it goes on to say, um, I met with fighters first. I met with fighters first months ago, and I believe in their vision, not just for me, but the fighters, said Spence. AC has been a part of the team for a while. He put Everlast and me together. I trust him to continue to put things together for me. My question to this whole entire ordeal, though it is positive, and I'm calling for what it is. It's positive. It deals with his freaking professional career. But my question is, like, why now? Why all of a sudden? What prompted you to sign a managerial deal? You know what I'm saying? Because if we go back a little bit, right? We remember when this tweet was released. Y'all remember, right? This tweet right here. I'm starting to feel played. So let WCS tie this shit in. You know what I'm saying? Let me tie it up a little bit. Like a pretzel. You know what I'm saying? Let me tie this up and throw it in the oven a little bit. So when Errol Spence put this tweet out, I'm starting to feel played. Now that we know he was talking about the business aspect, you know what I'm saying? He was talking about boxing business that was dealing with him as a fighter. Though, if you was listening to everybody, you had those individuals who chose to continue to play the role and blame, Terrence Crawford for being the subject of attention to this tweet. They try to put him on the back end of it, saying, I'm starting to feel played because Terrence Crawford didn't do this, that, and the other. But ultimately, it comes down to him signing this new management deal, which is great. I like it. I like, a fighter taking, the initiative to set themselves up better, especially on the back end of their career. I don't have nothing bad to say about this shit. You know what I'm saying? I know my boy Showtime was somewhat mentioning it a couple of days ago, but when it comes down to a fighter making moves, especially when it comes to business, I like it, man. Do what is best for you at the end of the day. I just don't like when it came down to the numbers and trying to starve a fighter and all that shit. That's when I get into the numbers aspect. That's the only time I really speak on it. But as far as, signing with somebody you've been with for a while, you have familiarity with this person, there's some trust, you know what I'm saying? Trust in this situation. I feel good about it. Good for Spence. I feel good about this. But the article wasn't that long. You know what I'm saying? And this is not the first fighter to sign with Fighters First Management. It's already several fighters that signed over there to Fighters First Management. But we'll see how it works out. And did they have anything to do in making this fight happen? Because we know the truth that, I'm starting to feel played did not have anything whatsoever to do with Terrence Crawford. Now we pretty much focus our attention moving forward on the fighter himself, Errol Spence. Now we kind of have a little bit more questions as to how everything played out, because I always spoke on, like, I'm glad that the contract details wasn't out there like it was in 2022. You know what I'm saying? It kind of provided a bit of solace moving forward that the YTC did not have access at all. It wasn't anything leaked out. So I commend those who was involved in making this fight happen and not putting any dang details out there. I like it. Even though it was frustrated when the fighters was talking in cryptic, you know what I'm saying? They was putting cryptic tweets out there, speaking in code that they only knew. Yeah, it was frustrating a little bit because I'm like, damn, we have enough of that shit. Everybody like, I can't say nothing. Only in boxing. I can't say nothing. Say, I knew about this, but I couldn't say nothing. I knew about this. I couldn't say nothing. I knew about it, but I couldn't say nothing. Now, we take a tweet about I'm feeling played, and it has absolutely nothing to do with Crawford. It has everything to do with Errol Spence and his career. him signing with a management team. Salute to him, bro. He's at the back end of his career, and he decided to sign with someone to make sure he's getting everything he needs. He's trying to wrap it all up into a nice little present and ensure that he gets all the money that he's supposed to get. Now, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's a positive freaking, point of business that I like to talk about outside of what we've been subjected to out here on the YouTube shit. I like it. But then you look at how they're gonna say, like somebody mentioned in the chat, how they're gonna talk about this per se. I don't worry about how they're gonna speak on situations with Spence, because they just refuse to be the cowards they are to speak on it. I mean, they refuse and play the role, as the cowards they are, and just say, well, I'm gonna continue to just speak over the top of it, along the side of it. I'm just gonna avoid it at all costs directly. I'm gonna make sure it's a indirect whining about manner in addressing this. You know what I'm saying? But yet they'll talk about Terrence Crawford and his BOK Prime decision and all that. But yet they're gonna find good to this. They're gonna say, oh man, Errol Spence did everything he's supposed to do. And look, it's good that he did it. But we're missing one important key. One important key that we're looking to make everything work. Why did Errol Spence, I need the key to this answer. Why did Errol Spence feel that he needed this move? Why did he feel he needed to make this adjustment, brother? Why? Why did he feel like he needed to make this adjustment? What brought this on? What did he see? What did somebody tell him at this point? See, this is what I'm getting at. When all this bullshit was going on in 2022 and they was finger pointing, this is a perfect example as to why the fight wasn't made. This is a perfect example. This is another thread, you know what I'm saying, that is sewn up, you know what I'm saying, to prove that the fight wasn't made in 2022 because of improper business. You know what I'm saying? Improper details that was going on, that person they didn't make the fight. They might have been held up to a point where they know it wouldn't benefit them. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't get them the money because they was being told no. And on that side, with PBC, they weren't willing to accommodate. Crawford don't have anything to do with Spence signing with this new management team, but I do feel these type of troubles that we only on the fifth month. We at the end of the fifth month, about to go to June, right? These problems did not just come about. These problems was evident back in 2022. There was a whole lot of business and money and ethics and a whole lot of this details that was, coming to the surface. And it was a whole lot going on that they couldn't make this fight happen back then. They had to wait to a certain point for everything for their legal team to get things together. For now that the news to break, this wasn't just happening in May. This is the type of shit that was going on last year in 2022 that them aerosexuals refused to talk about. It was a business decision. Business couldn't be conducted properly back then. They couldn't make the fight. It was situations that played out with other fighters that said, hey, the money's not on time. The whole encompassing, vortex that's around the problems and the troubles that was going on in the latter half of 2022, and people was finger pointing to Crawford, has all come to the light now. If everything was so smooth over there to make this fight happen last year, then why would Spence be signing with a new management deal? Why do they need to be a part of his team if everything was cool? If everything was cool, you don't need any changes. Once again, if everything is cool, You don't need any changes. You don't need any changes. Everything is cool, man. If everything was smooth, the fight would have been announced a ways back. But all of a sudden, these changes are coming about. Crawford being blamed, by the YTC members, but yet not blamed when Spence had a chance to blame him in front of millions. He didn't blame Crawford for anything. He didn't. When they was on First Take, he didn't blame him for anything. And now this information is coming out about a new management deal. You definitely have to be smart. You're smarter than me. You're smarter than me. You know the shit was going on in 2022 when it came to the business. That's why Crawford picked up and did an about face and went over there to BLK Prime. Because you can't sit up here and continue to act like you're going to appease someone that's not really trying to make a deal happen. Because all parties wasn't agreeing on that shit. I'm talking about the parties on the other side, not Crawford's side. They couldn't make the fight happen. We all know now. We know the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The only thing I want to happen, my only petition is that those individuals, those black men out there, those individuals that call themselves of the same race, they need to apologize, because they can put these puzzle pieces together also and understand this just didn't happen in 23. These problems have been in existence and cultivating since that time when these negotiations was first going down. Al Heyman's been on record. I don't want nobody else to touch this. Why would you put a cap on yourself? If you don't want nobody else to touch it, then you got to make the fight happen. Then you find out the details that, they're gonna fuck with the net. They're gonna fuck with the net, right? I mean, it's almost like getting into an empty tub and saying, "Damn, let me take this bath," and you never cut on the water. You're not using no soap. You just sit your ass in there and then stand up and you about to grab your towel. Oh, I ain't do shit. I was as funky as I was before I got in the motherfucker, and I'm getting out. Nothing became of this motherfucking fight. You know what I'm saying? It seemed like some good shit was going on for a minute, but nothing was happening. So kudos to Errol Spence for signing with a new management. Kudos to him, man, for taking care of business on his side. Kudos to him and Crawford for getting this fight done. And I'm gonna go out absolutely and say, tying these pieces together to make this fight happen, I'm pretty sure this management team has something to do with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure, a person he's been dealing with, a person that had him tied in with Everlast, a person that's been giving him freaking advice. I'm pretty sure they was in Errol Spence's ear for a long time leading into this freaking renegotiation for this big fight. That's why you're hearing both fighters potentially getting 8 figures. Why I don't hear voices out here cheering that both fighters? Because they're haters, bro. They're straight up haters. And at this point in time, absolutely, I'm happy for both fighters, man. You never heard me say anything other than when they getting 8 figures, I say salute to them. I'm glad they both getting paid, because they both about to go in there and one of these guys' life may change. I'm serious. One of these guys' life may change. It can be any one of them. But they're going in there in a tough fight, 12 rounds for history, undisputed, for all the crowns, bro. For all the crowns. This is a much anticipated fight. Now, the only thing we are praying and hoping from the boxing gods is that neither one of these guys get injured. Because I don't think no one has the patience for this fight to be delayed. Not one freaking month. We don't want the fight delayed. 2 months. No, we don't want none of that. We want this fight to happen now. Hey, shout out to the fanboy Slayer with the $2 super chat. He said, I bet Dookie Brown TV is tallying up a new excuse. Hey man, they have to come up with something, bro. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to come up with something. You know what I'm saying? Dookie Duke. Shout out to L Dog on deck. Errol wants to get a manager that can guarantee him a role in Creed. Man, stop the madness, man. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to take care of his business first. Forget Creed. Because I can guarantee you this. They're not sitting up there handing out millions upon millions, even though Creed has made a substantial amount of money. You know, Andrew Charles said Glass Spence showed a little backbone and stood up for his own career. True. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. He's, Jameson, what's good? He said, what up, WCS? This is a good year to be a boxing fan. Can't wait for Bud to make history. Hey, that's a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of us. We can't wait to this day. I got a story to tell you about this one, but hey, what do I know? Yes, sir. And shout out to Shaw News, the Sauce Experience, AK Showtime, Shaw Team Tucker in the building. Appreciate you, fam. Salute to you. Terrence don't feel played. Hey, talk to him, NY. You know what I'm saying? Talk to him, dog. He said Terrence ain't being don't feel like he being played. They was lying the whole time. Yes, indeed. They was lying, but yet they don't even have the intestinal fortitude. You know what I'm saying? They don't have it, bro. They don't have no damn honesty, integrity about themselves. They don't even want to come on here and say they wrong. It's been so many of them that's wrong that reported, even on this I feel played, feel like I'm being played or whatever. Now he feel like him being played had nothing to do with Crawford, but these guys made videos talking about he was blaming Crawford. These are grown ass adults, man. These are grown ass adults for real. They don't have it, bro. They don't care. I wonder how the kids are gonna grow up. They out here really doing shit and talking shit about another person when you acting like you want to fight, but you don't want to fight. You don't want to fight. Now that everything is zipped up a little bit more, you know, the fight date is on deck. Now we get the truth that Errol Spence is signed with a new management team. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things is coming to the light that debunks the lies that was being told on Bud Crawford. So let's see if they take it upon themselves to do what they're supposed to. Say it again, back 9 of his career. I wonder how much he left on the table. I wonder too, man. I wonder too. I be who I be. What's good, player? And they cost him that potential Saudi bag. So I hear people all the time talk about the Saudi bag. And you might want to let go. You know, if you clenching that pretty tight, you might want to let that go a little bit, because it's a lot more that's going on with the Saudi money than you think. You have to look at in the last 3 years or whatever, they only put on 3 fights. They haven't been consistent with that over there. And not everybody can go over there with, you know, that Tommy Fury, Jake Paul shit. You know, not everybody can go over there like that. But I don't think, you know, EJ and Crawford was ever going over the Saudi. I don't think they was ever going over the Saudi. Even with the offer being there. And like you said, I'm not saying you're lying. You absolutely cost him a potential Saudi bag. They suggested it. It was out there suggested. And like I said, with the hedge fund people, he didn't want nobody else touching it. You know what I'm saying? It's a reason why he didn't want them to, you know, to take everything, you know what I'm saying, to be in charge. You know, the Saudis do shit different, man. That's a technical situation right there. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, it was no way that shit was going to happen. No way. It was no way. Just like the hedge fund, it was no way. Man, I think EJ wanted to take that 50 million that Crawford had found. But hey, what do I know? He probably did. That was a lot of money, bro. But, you know, to hear the YTC speak on it, he didn't want to tell, you know, Errol Spence about anything. Yeah, Errol Spence knew. You know, Al Heyman knew who the hedge fund guys was. But when you're dealing at such a high level like Al Heyman, man, come on, he knows everything that circulates around him, man. Nothing gets over on Al Heyman that they're gonna surprise him. The man is more powerful than people give credit to. The man, Al Heyman's a powerful person, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he is without criticism. I mean, he is one of those guys that's never going to be without criticism. It's always going to be something crazy, especially when it comes to business. But you find out a lot of rich people in general, they do have those areas in there where people tell you a story and say, hey, man, so and so, man, I don't like when he did this. It was fucked up the way he did it. I can't believe he screwed over this person. Every rich person will tell you a story. You know what I'm saying? They'll tell you a story. Just for instance, like Floyd Mayweather supposedly owed Logan Paul that money from Florida, right? And he said he wasn't going to pay him. And people saying, "Oh, that's rich people shit, huh? You ain't gonna pay him the money." I mean, it's like that. You just say, "Hey, you blessed to be in the ring with me," and that's where it's at. Okay, cool. This is why Bud wanted transparency, and they closed the door on him. True word, man. They denied. They denied. They shut doors. They rejected. That's why I got to give, kudos to Bud for handling his business the way he did. Kudos to him, man. Kudos to Errol Spence for like Showtime just mentioned, and Rick Glaser always mentioned the back nine. He trying to make sure, that he gets down the back nine. You know what I'm saying? At least stay on par. He don't want a bogey. You know what I'm saying? He don't want a bogey on the back nine. He want to make sure he stay on par. If you believe that Errol Spence say, watch Terrence Crawford appear in movies and video games and then bother him, you're a fool. Oh, yeah, MD. I'm pretty sure. I even said it myself. I was like, yeah, he will like to be in the movie. I even made a light of it. I say, as long as they don't give him a speaking part. I said, they only have a certain time frame for the movie. But truth be told, it would have been good to see, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence in the same scene, really. Like they was in there about to spar or something. That would have built this fight up like I don't know what. I'm telling you, it would have sent Creed, in my opinion, it would have sent Creed to a whole nother level financially, because they've been trying to build this fight up in real life in boxing. So if they would have had Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford have a short scene where they're about to get sparring in, and then they show them landing a couple of punch and then go to another, that's all they need. The people are going to say, hey, man, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford was sparring in there. It was the coolest shit ever. Did you see the movie? People are going to go to the movie just to see the motherfucking scene like that, dog. But what do I know? You know what I'm saying? Bud is a better businessman than they give him credit. Hey, I agree, bro. I agree. I say it all the time. You know what I'm saying? I try to be. You know what I'm saying? Big Blunts and boxing on deck. What's good? Yeah, Errol signed with Adrian Clark, but is Al still his advisor? Absolutely. Al is still his advisor. He's still his advisor. He can't be the advisor and the manager. It's a lot of positioning that goes on over there that people question. Is he in violation of? I'm not here to speak on that topic, but he is the advisor. He is the advisor. Because they even say in the article that what? He's been manager free. He's been a manager free agent for quite some time, but he has been in communication with Adrian Clark. You know what I'm saying? He's been in communication over the years, and Clark was supposedly linked him up with some things like, Everlast and, some other stuff. I mean, hey, salute to them. I ain't mad at him. Salute to them. I'm not mad at him doing business and getting his shit in order to make it beneficial for him. And then look, I'm waiting for other details to come out about how much of an effect they had on making this fight. How did it go? Will we ever know how it went? Who had a prominent role in putting this together? I'm not talking about Al Heyman. I'm talking about who. What were all the moving pieces? Who were the names, the bodies, in putting this all together? Because it just seems like It's night and freaking day with negotiation numbers that was out the first time, vice negotiation numbers that was out this time. Oh my goodness. We're talking about you're hearing these 8 figures and you say, oh man, okay, both fighters are getting paid. But back then it was just, why are we up here talking about 65-35, whatever we give them? I think in the midst of Spence trying to drink his own Kool-Aid, I think he actually found out some shit he wasn't getting. He may have already known, and that's why he was trying to lowball the shit out of Crawford. Or he actually got to a point where he hired some other people, or he got with Clark to do some investigating to try to find out, how he can make this fight happen. How can they get paid? How can they get the 8 figures and be happy about walking and splitting those ropes and going there fighting for undisputed? They don't want to go in there, neither fighter. They don't want to go in there saying, man, shit. I'm just seeing Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. Supposedly they made what? And they talking about $2 million and $4 million for the A side? Hell no. This fight is way bigger. It potentially can be breaking serious numbers, man. This fight can potentially break serious. It is. I'm going to go on a limb and say it is. I think this fight, the way and the time that's set up, and this week, they having their first 2 pressers, okay? They having their first 2 pressers. The same thing, one in NY and the other one on the West. And being that we have 60 days remaining to July 29th is ample amount of time for people to prepare themselves, kids are out of school. It's gonna be crazy, bro. This shit's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be chaos and mayhem. I think this fight will actually go in the record books when the numbers come back, because the curiosity is there. And then it's even gonna get way better after these fighters finally meet up in person and both of them start talking their shit. Yeah, they was cordial on ESPN First Take. Okay, we got it. But it's different when you're in person and you get to see the energy of the fighters. You get to hear them talk about and bring up some old stuff that we talked about on YTC. I don't think these 2 press conferences is going to be as peaceful as what we've seen on ESPN First Take. I don't think so. I think it's going to be absolutely a point in time where, yeah, it's going to be professionalism. Then on the other hand, it's going to say, I'm glad we was able to make the fight. But at the end of the day, everybody know who going to come out here victorious. And it's me. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you how nasty it's going to get. But they do need to sell this fight. The pay-per-view price point need to come in around $89, $99, $90. It doesn't need to be nowhere in the 70s and nowhere in the 80s. I would say charge the people you really want to get paid. Charge them $95. Floyd came in here and charged people for a fighter who never even had a boxing match. 0-0 in a professional ring. They charged him $100, bro. $100. They charged him $100. So this fight is potentially bigger than that fight. Now, I'm just talking a little bit. This fight right here is consisting of 2 pound-for-pound guys, 2 actual boxers with experience, with a backstory to it. Way different than Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was MMA, and yes, he was a 2-weight champion. Okay, blasé. But these are 2 fighters that have been on the pound-for-pound list for quite some time now. Also, they hold multiple championships in the sport of boxing. So I think, if it goes the way I believe it's going to go moving forward, bro, this is gonna outdo Tank and Garcia. Seriously, real talk. It's gonna outdo Tank and Garcia, bro. I think 2 black fighters with the build up and everything, undefeated records, pretty much the same paper format that we had with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, but both fighters being, equally competitive to answer the bell. You know what I'm saying? Both of their resumes, everything they did to accomplish up to this point, it's gonna do big numbers. It's gonna do big numbers, big dog. Yeah. Can't wait. Karate Body, what's good? Brian Nomas Jr. is with that management company too. Okay. Shout out to the Assassin, man. They did. You're right. Shot News, you're right. I remember that coming across the timeline. You're right. Yeah. They scooping them up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, nah, I ain't gonna say that. Man makes sense. Who favoring who? I really think the pressure Espinosa and Heyman trying to hold on to Showtime Boxing is pressure them to make these fights, because all of a sudden we're getting the fights we asked for long ago. You're right, bro. You're right, man. Yes, sir. You're right. Showtime been on fire this year, right? Showtime been on fire this year, right? You know what I'm saying? You hit the nail on the head with that. We came out the gate. We got Javante. We got 2 Javante fights in 4 months. We got David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, bro. And then they turn around and fights that we didn't think was gonna happen did happen. We didn't think it was possible for Tank to give us 2 pay-per-view fights in 4 months. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, when it became dire straits, hopeless, this fight news finally break. Great news. YouTube boxing creators deserve a lot of credit for building this thing up over the years. Also, when those suck ass channels been hating on Bud for years. Yeah, they have, man. But truth be told, they'll sit up there and tell their relatives, friends, and kids and everything to be honest people in life. You know what I'm saying? To be very truthful, to have integrity. When they up here just straight up lying. They lying on the man. This is personal shit. This is real life social media shit that they doing. And they're doing it in groups, and they don't care because they feel like they never have to answer to them. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it is. This is real life shit you're talking about. You're basically belittling this guy. You're the famous name and character, and all the truth comes out in 2023. And y'all don't want to get on here and say, well, I apologize. You know what I'm saying? You still want to come in here and use the same narrative and come up with these dumb juvenile storylines that, oh, well, Crawford's to blame for this. Well, Crawford lied to Spence. They refuse to talk about the fight. So that's why they're never going to give the YTC credit for building up this fight in a legitimate way. They're just going to point the finger and say, yeah, it's some people on there that was talking and building up the fight properly. And there was others that was trying to sabotage it by putting out fake information and defamatory videos. That's all I can say. Shout out to Mr. Paz. What's good? WCS, that dude on channel is hilarious. He got so many bets going for this fight. Dude, he's not going to be able to pay, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to be able to pay. I just gave him some time because he gets so flustered. You know what I'm saying? He gets so flustered. You know what I'm saying? They look, the one thing that pissed them off that I love so much is the fact that I said, Bud ain't going to lose. Simply that. You know what I'm saying? He ain't going to lose. You know what I'm saying? And then you got very emotional, fragile-minded individuals come over here. Oh, you're not a real boxer. They don't know. They don't want to look at anything you did. And if they do know stuff you did for the sport, they don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to acknowledge it. That's the whole point. They don't want to acknowledge it. So, that ain't the first time I've been on. And you got 2 niggas that's trying to goddamn, hold hands and skip down the street and act tough. You know what I'm saying? Come on. We're talking about people who don't create content at the end of the day. Broke ass the white better pay my $75. I got a 500 with him. You know what I'm saying? I got a 500 with him. You know, he's the type of dude that talk all that shit and have to pay up, and then talking about, you know, fuck that, I ain't gotta pay you shit. You know, want to talk all this shit about, you know, what Arrow's gonna do and all that. I don't want to hear none of that, man. Just pay up and shut up. But my people, I only had to stay on here. I got some, you know, for y'all later on. You know, I got to take care of some stuff. But you'll see what I'm talking about. You know, constantly, you know, moving parts that's going on, you know, with boxing stuff that I'm going to speak on. But stay tuned, man. I'll try to give y'all as much as I possibly can when I actually get to that point today. So y'all hold it down. Appreciate y'all pulling up as always. Stay positive. and those individuals that's extremely frustrated and angry because I said that there's no way Errol Spence will beat Bud Crawford. I'm sticking to it, okay? Until the next time, man, y'all turn up a 2 in World Combat Sports, man. I'm out.